Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivardhari
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari
Jai Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivardhari
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari
Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Gajana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Gajana Ranjana
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe
Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe
Shri Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe
Shri Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe
Srila Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Prabhupada Shri Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada Shila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Shila Prabhupada
Jaya Nimai Nitai Jai Nimai Nitai Jai Nimai Nitai Jaya Nimai Nitai Jaya Nimai Nitai, Jaya Nimai Nitai, Jaya Nimai Nitai, Jaya Nimai Nitai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramamsa Parivrajacharya Sutara Sutta Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Go Premanandi. All glories to the lotus feet of Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we first offer respectful obeisances to the personality of Godhead, Lord Narayan. Unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and Srila Vyasadeva, the author, by regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed to practically nil. And thus, loving service unto the glorious Lord, who is praised with transcendental hymns, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 2, The Lord in the Heart, text number 19. And is it on the board?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Munis to Paramet Vyavastito. Itham Munis to Paramet Vyavastito. Digyana Drik Virya Surandita Sayaha. Vigyana Drigvirya Surandita Sayaha. Swaprashnina Pidja Gudam Tato Nilam. Swaprashnina Pidja Gudam Tato Nilam. Stanesu Satsun Namayaj Jitta Klamaha Stanesu Satsunnamaye Jitaklamaha. Itam Munis to Paramat Vyavastito. Vigyana Drigvirya Surandita Dita Sayaha. Swaprashnina Jagudam Tato Nilam. Stane Susat Suna Madhyajita Jitak Lamaha. Itam munis tu paramet vyavastito.
Itam munis tu paramet vyavastito.
Vigana dregal viryasurandita sayaha.
Vijnana drivya surandita shayaha.
Swaprashnina pijagudam tito nilam.
Swapashrina vidyagudam tato nilam.
Stane susat sunamadhyat jitak lamaha.
Staneshu satshuname maya jitak namaha.
Itam munis tu paramet vyavastito.
Itam munis tu paramet vyavastito.
Vigana dreg viryasurandita sayaha.
Vijnana drivya surandita shayaha.
Swaprashnina pijagudam tato nilam.
Swapashrina vidyagudam tato nilam.
Stane susat sunamaya jitak lamaha.
Staneshu satshuname jitak namaha.
Someone want to try, please?
I don't have my glasses, but I'll try. Itam munis tu paramed vyavastito.
Itam munis tu paramet vyavastito.
Vijnana drig virya suda anidhita shtiyaha.
Vigana dreg viryasurandita sayaha.
Svaparishinin apidya agunam tato nilam.
Swaprashnina pijagudam tato nilam.
Staneshu satshunamayesh jitak lamaha.
Staneshu satsunamaya jitak lamaha.
Good job.
Thank you.
Itam munis tu paramet vyavastito. Vigana dreg viryasurandita sayaha. Swaprashnina pijagudam tato nilam.
Staneshu satshuname jitak namaha. Itam munis tu paramet vyavastito.
Itam munis tu paramet vyavastito.
Vijnana drivya surandita shayaha.
Vigana dreg viryasurandita sayaha.
Swapashrina vidyagudam tato nilam.
Swaprashnina pijagudam tato nilam.
Staneshu satshunamaye jitak namaha.
Staneshu satsunamaya jitak lamaha. Anyone else?
Itam munis tu paramet vyavastito.
Itam munis tu paramet vyavastito.
Vijnana drivya surandita shayaha.
Vigana dreg viryasurandita sayaha.
Svapashnina vidyagudam tato nilam.
Swaprashnina pijagudam tato nilam.
Staneshu satsunamaye jitak lamaha.
Staneshu satsunamaya jitak lamaha. Okay, word for word. Itam, thus by Brahman realization.
Thus by Brahman realization.
Muni,
Muni,
philosopher.
philosopher.
To what?
But
Uparamet
Paramet
should retire.
should retire.
Vyavastita,
Vyavastita,
well situated.
Vijnanatrik,
by scientific knowledge.
by
scientific knowledge.
Virya,
Virya,
strength.
Strength.
Surandita,
Sudandita,
well regulated.
well regulated.
Asayaha,
Asayaha,
aim of life.
aim of life.
Swaprashnina, by the heel of one's foot.
By the
Heel of one's foot.
Apitya,
Apija,
by blocking.
blocking.
Gudam,
Udam,
the air hole.
the air hole.
Tataha,
Tata,
thereafter.
thereafter.
Anilam,
Anilam,
life air.
Life air.
Stanesu,
Taneshu,
in the places.
in the places.
Satsu,
Satsu,
6 primary.
Six primary.
Unamayat,
Unamayat,
must be lifted.
Must be lifted.
Jita Klamaha,
Jitaklamaha,
by extinguishing material desires.
by extinguishing material desire.
By the strength of scientific knowledge, one should be well situated in absolute realization and thus be able to extinguish all material desires. One should then give up the material body by blocking the air hole through which stool is evacuated. It said that in parentheses. With the heel of one's foot, and by lifting the life air from one place to another in the 6 primary places. Okay, please repeat. By the strength of scientific knowledge,
By the strength of scientific knowledge,
one should be well situated.
one should be well situated.
Well situated in absolute realization,
In absolute realization,
and thus be able to extinguish
and thus be able to extinguish
all material desires.
all material desires.
One should then give up the material body
One should then give up the material body
by blocking the air hole
by blocking the air hole
through which stool is evacuated
through which stool is evacuated
with the heel of one's foot,
with the heel of one's foot,
and by lifting the life air
and by lifting the life air
from one place to another
from one place to another
in the 6 primary places.
in the 6 primary places.
Srila Prabhupada's divine purpose.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
There are many Duratmas who claim to have realized themselves as Brahman, and yet are unable to conquer material desires. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 54, it is clearly explained that an absolutely self-realized soul becomes aloof from all material desires. Material desires are based on the false ego of the living being and are exhibited by his childish and useless activities to conquer the laws of material nature and by his desire to lord it over the resources of the 5 elements. With such a mentality, one is led to believe in the strength of material science, with its discovery of atomic energy and space travel by mechanical vehicles. And by such tiny advancements in material science, the false egoist tries to challenge even the strength of the Supreme Lord, who can finish all man's tiny endeavors in less than a second. The well-situated self, or Brahman-realized soul, perfectly understands that the Supreme Brahman, or the personality of Godhead, is the all-powerful Vasudeva, and that he, the self-realized living being, is a part and parcel of the Supreme Whole. As such, His constitutional position is to cooperate with him in all respects. In the transcendental relation of the served and the servitor. Such a self-realized soul ceases to exhibit his useless activities of attempting to lord it over material nature. Being scientifically well informed, he fully engages himself in faithful devotion to the Lord. The expert yogi who has thoroughly practiced the control of the life air by the prescribed method of the yoga system is advised to quit the body as follows. He should plug up the evacuating hole with the heel of the foot and then progressively move the life air on and on to 6 places: the navel, abdomen, heart, chest, palate, eyebrows, and cerebral pit. Controlling the life air by the prescribed yogic process is mechanical, and the practice is more or less a physical endeavor for spiritual perfection. In olden days, such practice was very common for the transcendentalists, for the mode of life and character in those days were favorable. But in modern days, when the influence of Kali age, they say here, is so disturbing, practically everyone is untrained in this art of bodily exercise. Concentration of the mind is more easily attained in these days by the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. The results are more effective than those derived from the inner exercise of the life air. Thus ends the Bhagavatam purport to the 2nd canto, 2nd chapter, The Lord in the Heart, text number 19. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Here's some transcendental prasadam. Maharani will pass around. Tomorrow I'll offer it at the Mangalarti. And Mother Maharashmi made it for Krishna from Talavana's cows that were milked by Janti and Katia. And tossing leaves placed upon them before being offered to the Lord.
Hari Bol. Dwadashi ki jai. Breaking fast ki jai.
So Srila Prabhupada used this word duratmas in yesterday's verse, quoting from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who considered the Mayavadis, philosophers, those who dismiss the transcendental form of the Lord. And they are something like these material scientists. So when Prabhupada, or this verse, Prabhupada's translating English to English words like scientific knowledge, by the strength of scientific knowledge. So when he's saying that, he clarified in the purport that he doesn't mean materialistic scientific knowledge, because so much of the scientific knowledge supports the false egoist, that I am this body, and I'm meant to derive pleasure, and they go through so much research and effort to try to prove that our natural psychology is completely lusty and sexual, and that is the purpose of life, to simply procreate to our heart's fulfillment in one way or another, and derive sense gratification for the pleasure of the body. And when we leave the world, we don't have to worry about all that. Instead, they're constantly perplexed and constantly worrying about their sense gratification. Because as Krishna says in the 16th chapter of the Gita, it's like throwing fuel on a fire. It's like throwing gasoline on a fire. It just keeps raging and raging. And their hunger never ends. Something like Bhima's hunger. It couldn't come to an end because he had this wolf belly that kept him always hungry. And so that's why Vyasa gave him that one day to fast. Because otherwise it wasn't possible with such a body that was meant for doing the most powerful kshatriya deeds possible for any person. The type of things that they only write about in comic books nowadays with such heroes as the Hulk or ever powerfully and strong characters that they simply make up because they either don't know about or have no faith in the transcendental activities of characters like Bhima Singh. So their attempts are simply for sense gratification, and we see that they're always perplexed, these people. And in fact, the mental health of humanity is pathetic. They're spending more and more money on it, and yet they have completely insufficient facilities. And consequently, they put the poor people in prisons. I mean, can you believe it? First of all, we train up people in a civilization that makes them mentally disturbed, and then we put them in a prison for being mentally disturbed. With guards that are ready to beat you up at any moment, hose you down for cussing, throw you into a cell of solitary confinement with no one there, dark, all the time, shoving food under the door that just pollutes your body and mind. So, this is Kali Yuga, though. Prabhupada makes that point. And then no one is practicing the exercise to lift the life there. Instead, they try to make their muscles strong so that they can fight, either through exerting themselves as athletes or perpetrators or defenders. And they do all this research. They take their mind and they put it into material things. Like, did you ever have to become a lawyer? I mean, look at the law just in the state of Louisiana and Mississippi. It takes you forever to learn it. At least nowadays you don't have to have tons of books on the bookshelf. Instead, they just got it all on their computer. But to put it all into the brain is another thing. For every case, they got to take it out and research and put together a case. And then, after years and years of cases, they become, pretty good at, defending a client or prosecuting someone. So that's just in the state of Mississippi. What if you had to learn the law for all 50 states? And that's just in one country. What if you got a country that goes back 1,000 more years, such as Great Britain, with its vast amount of law and case precedents? So you can understand that these people's lives are completely immersed for at least 40 years before they retire. And then most of them want to run off and try to fulfill their senses with all the things that they may have missed. And then they're liable to die at any moment. And never have understood the real purpose of life. Unless somehow ever they have some type of guru. And then unfortunately most of the gurus, are either letting their students eat meat and give them some cheap way of self-realization, based upon blind faith, that someone else is going to do all the work and hand us over salvation at the end. Or that somehow ever we become a particle of light and we are that supreme existence. And so they walk around with even an ego that's many times bigger than the greatest materialist. Actually, with so puffed up, thinking that somehow everything has come from them in a form of the all-pervasive Brahman. Anyways, in Kali Yuga, we all become the most foolish creatures because, we listen to false teachers or teachers that simply teach us about this world and completely make us absorbed in it. To the time of death, we're thinking something about this world. And our mind's completely absorbed in material objects. Never have we ever taken the time to train it to become absorbed in transcendental objects. But that makes sense. The mind is meant to meditate, to think, to feel, to will. But if we're always thinking, willing, and feeling about material objects, then, we have misled ourselves. We've let the mind mislead ourselves because that's the way we have controlled our mind. We just let the mind meditate on the material objects we want. We call it spontaneity. It's the spontaneity of the asuras. It's asuric bhava. Asuric thought. The thought of asuras. I am this body, and this universe is meant for me to control, or this world is meant for me to control, or this city is meant for me to guide. Because I feel that I am the best equipped. I grew up here, or I didn't grow up here, but I have the intellect of governance to do this job, to help these people, to make this a place fit for my family to grow up in. And they become so, completely absorbed in this world, never understanding that at the time of death, it's all wiped out. This big, vast bank account, I can't pay off anyone when it comes to the time of death. I may have been able to pay off so many people during my life. But at the time of death, when someone comes for me, which will be shocking enough because we never believed there was someone on the other side to come for us. And if they're bad enough, we may try to pay them off, but it's not available. We can't get it out the bank then, and nor are they concerned with it. Their master wouldn't take it. Their employer wouldn't take it. They would be demoted, chastised, punished for bringing back some paper or some electronic things from a world that is completely temporary and doesn't mean much to these controllers of the universe. The soul means much to them. And that soul has accumulated a karma that is now meant to fructify. And so if that person, somehow if it takes a bribe from this foolish creature with what he considers his wealth, he would never do such a thing because it's meaningless. It's just laughable. He's just going to yank him from the body and drag him to court to face his punishment. So shocking for these people. But yet, it goes on every day. And, Prabhupada tried to light the fire of urgency under us, to distribute books. Because how else can they learn? Are they going to learn on the internet by themselves? God knows what they'll read. God knows what they'll read about Prabhupada's books. Everyone needs a guru. But if there's only false gurus, then God help the world. So Prabhupada was trying to train up bona fide Brahmanas, people who know about spiritual life, to help educate people in a way that they can make some advancement. What to speak about all the people who are still trying to practice this yoga. And then all they do is lay down for a sound bath in the evening. And then, practice Kama Sutra at night. And then they come back, to try to make their life as strong for what? So they can sing nicely or eat nicely or practice Kama Sutra nicely. Or make, money at whatever their occupation is. Maybe some of them are really into their occupation, Maybe they're, this or that. And they, just like the materialists, they're very adept and practicing. That is their life and soul. But they never get out of the material dharma. Even powerful material folks, like the Pandavas, they were most powerful at executing their dharma in this world. We see that they retired and left it all behind. Even the Gandiva bow left it behind. Even Queen Draupadi left it behind. Simply because it didn't mean much when it came time for what the soul is ultimately meant for. But we never bother to train the mind to meditate upon transcendental things in the world. We watch cartoons, then we watch, this flip, and, we have a whole, can you believe how much it's expanded? It's expanded to so many different movie industries, from Netflix, and now Walt Disney has its own, and, this company has its own, and that one has its own, and they're all trying to make people, get their app so you can, just choose every day, what am I going to watch? What am I going to watch? But, never, never, ever do they train it up to meditate upon transcendental persons. Even in this world, they meditate upon the material activities of the Devas. With unlimited devotees, which is so attractive, much more attractive than material things. The activities of Murder Dave are fantastic. And he can help all these people. Maybe even bring them to the lotus feet of the Lord's greatest devotees. But that, the world, needs to learn what Srila Prabhupada is teaching. A simple method to put out that fire that's just burning, trying to gain satisfaction. But somehow it never lasts. It never lasts. They practice this, they practice that, and then they break a foot. And it's all finished. Or they have a stroke, and it's all finished. At the hour of death, it's all, questionable. What really matters? That's what the Bhagavatam is trying to tell us. That's what Parikshit Maharaj understood. What am I to do was his question. And Sukadeva said, here, the glories of Krishna. So that's our great fortune. The verses previous to this were describing the beauty of that transcendental form. And Prabhupada was making the point in the purport to the verse yesterday about the importance of going to Vaikuntha rather than to Hawaii. We can learn about Hawaii from Srimad. Unless you like to surf or eat fruit. Maybe you're lucky to be in, a temple. But, it's just got a different form of sense gratification. Even Srila Prabhupada thought it was as close to celestial as you could find in this world. You don't have to worry about a winter. There's plenty of rain, nice scenery, relaxing life if you're not caught up in the fire of, modern civilization trying to crank out the numbers for people and, being a part of some corporation that's trying to make more and control more and more of the profits of the world. And, they're paying you a big salary, but whipping you and whipping you and whipping you to get what they need or what they want. Or you got people hounding you to educate their children and blaming you when the child, somehow ever, doesn't advanced fast enough in materialistic knowledge. You know, I mean, none of it's a piece of cake anywhere. You know, only with Prabhupada's transcendental knowledge can we possibly, you know, have that cake and eat it too. I mean, the devotees can live a very nice life and be Krishna conscious. It's not difficult. That's what Prabhupada was trying to tell us. The simple life, you know, it's not difficult. You know, to be transcendental, even in the midst of all this stuff with all kinds of things always happening to us. You know, something's going to happen to each and every one of us, generally every year, if not every month or day. You know, things happen to us. But unless we learn the secret of being Krishna conscious, you know, we're never going to be able to be free from disturbance. Otherwise, the Krishna conscious devotee, even in the midst of all this mess, can remain free from disturbance. Otherwise, how is it possible for Queen Kunti to remain undisturbed, not to have to go to the psych? You know, knowing that her sons were at odds with her eldest son, that she, in one sense, betrayed and had feelings for, because that was the one she never took care of. So this thing bothered her daily. It was a daily mental botheration. But only by Krishna consciousness could she be aloof enough from it not to become disturbed. But we'll never learn how not to become disturbed without Krishna consciousness. We had to become devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and do our dharma, our duty for Him. You know, He expects something out of each and every one of us. And He has a plan for each and every one of us. And to ignore His service is simply criminal in one sense. Prabhupada said, we may avoid worshipping a great person, but no one can avoid worshipping or serving the Supreme Personality of God. He's in our very heart, and He's not there just for His own benefit. You know, He's there waiting for us to acknowledge Him, and then ready to, you know, give us direction. Otherwise, all He does is watch us take direction from our puny material intelligence, which is being dragged about by our senses for sense gratification. You know, figuring out, you know, how to get what we want to eat. You know, figuring out how to associate with whom we want to associate with. You know, how to be happy how we want to be happy. Without, you know, really assuming our role is, you know, His transcendental servant, you know, ready to do what He has in mind. You know, He has a mind like we have a mind. And He has a mind that is meant to direct us. You know, we are His part and parcel, and it's not the opposite way around. So we're meant to be serving Him, always. And that's how our mind should be fixed. We should learn to meditate on what is transcendental, and not on what is material. We can take the material and then use it for Him. You know, like the Pandavas used it for Him. They used it for Him so well that He wanted them to be the people who decided how the resources of the world should be used. Krishna wanted them to be those people. And not their unscrupulous cousins who had cheated them out of the whole thing by their great Kali Yuga mentalities. You know, they were so expert that they could cheat any good and honest person like Yogindra Maharaj. But Krishna wasn't going to put up with it. And He is the greatest of tricksters. What does he say in Bhagavad Gita? He's the gambling of the cheats. So even the personification of Kali, the greatest cheater, could not out-cheat Krishna. And so in the end, Krishna gave victory to the Pandavas. And in the end, he'll give victory to us. We just have to be his devotee. That's the point he tries to make. Please be my devotee because I can help you out. I don't want your money. All I want is your devotion. If you don't want to give me the devotion, you can try to work for me at least, knowing that's what's good for you. But if you don't want to do that, then I'm going to tell you how to learn to be peaceful and happy. If you don't want to follow that, then, maybe demigods help you. If you're going to start to blaspheme them and think that somehow that would be the epitome of my creation, then, you're under the law of karma. Mother Durga will find a nice place for you. So, I think we can stop here. It's 25 minutes after the hour, so before we stop, any comment or question? Yeah, Mother Christian.
What you were talking about, these people that when they're about ready to leave their bodies and what possible problems there will be because of the situation at hand and the Yogindras. I was reading how Prabhupada was giving lectures on Ajamil and how even though he was a Brahmin, but he fell down to being with a prostitute and became very sinful. But because he had a son he named Narayan at the point of death, even though he had to see those Yogindras, but Prabhupada was explaining how Krishna saved him, because then the Vishnu Dudas came understanding that Narayan is no different than Vishnu or God or Supreme Lord like that. And then that I was just thinking how fortunate and how wonderful that Prabhupada has come to give us that understanding of that we can have that opportunity.
Yeah, the transcendental
So we don't have
sound
to have
vibrations.
the situation where having these grotesque people, they're servants and serving Yamraj.
We didn't have any transcendental sound vibrations. God,
Yeah.
English word meaning the controller.
Yeah.
People have different conceptions. We say Jesus, a Romanized version of his Hebrew name, and from a certain culture.
Personal names.
A culture that keeps the names that they have in their language hidden, feeling that people of the world aren't holy enough for it. In fact, consider most of us not a part of the clan. We're not a part of the clan. Only if you're born of one of their mothers are you a part of the clan. But then there's, that offshoot that gave it to everyone, to the extent that controlling mentality tries to make a monopoly out of it and extinguish any other indigenous culture on the earth. Just as their cousin brothers, the Muslims attempt to do. Extinguish any other culture that exists other than this culture that grew up in 7th century Arabia or in the 1st century Jerusalem. All other cultures somehow or other, or in Rome, or in Constantinople, all other cultures somehow or other are, sinful and dark and evil. They actually do that, don't they? They throw these bad labels on it. They're demons. They really demonize all the other cultures in the world. Of course, it's a little bit harder to get away with it nowadays because of the liberality of thought. And there's many supporters of other people's culture, defenders of it. I mean, still the highly conservative religious sides are there. In America, they're there in the form of white supremacy, which has become the largest terrorist group over the past decade in the country, even more than jihadist groups. So, I mean, that's, around the world you have, these types of mentalities. But yet, the most ancient indigenous culture, the Vedic culture, is practically the only one still existing where you have people that somehow or other have survived, years of being mowed down by the opposition trying to control them and whatever little piece of land that they live upon. Amazing. So Prabhupada was able to give ever transcendental sound vibrations. I mean, most of the world knows Om, but Om is Krishna. Krishna himself says it. I mean, we use words like omniscient, taken from Greek and Old English. Even this word science means to know. That's and it comes ultimately from Latin. And Prabhupada was using the word vijnanadrik. Vigyan meaning wisdom or realized knowledge, not gyan, which Prabhupada translates as theoretical knowledge or academic knowledge. Vigyan meaning realized knowledge. I mean, to realize I am the soul or Brahman means that, I realize myself is completely different from this body, and I have some glimpse, some feeling and understanding and perception of myself is that atomic particle of indestructible substance. And that, it has some place with the supreme Brahman in a world full of spiritual beings with senses and minds and life. And I do also. So, it requires some, revelation. That's the word we even use in our modern religious world. It's revealed knowledge. It is revelation. If you don't get revelation, then how can you have faith? So, but it's revealed through devotional practices of meditation. Otherwise, it's never revealed to the materialist unless somebody has good fortune to be like St. Paul or somebody, where you're really an evil guy, but somehow ever God chooses you to lead his ministry to the Gentiles. So I mean, there's many of them in Vedic culture also, like Valmiki, who was the a criminal in his previous life, that was Narada Muni made into a devotee by giving him transcendental sound. So, but generally, otherwise, most people, they have to take up a practice, just like we do in the material world. So we take up a spiritual practice, and that's meant to bring the revelation of who I really am. That, I'm not this body, but this body and mind is meant for me to control in Krishna's service, not for me to be controlled by it in the service of Maya. So then, we're meant to become a Goswami, or a master of the senses, and not a godas, a servant of the senses, where I'm just doing things for my own petty little, materialistic desire, ignoring Krishna's desires. I'm meant to utilize it. After all, what would people call Bhima? Oh, look at him, he's gluttonous. Look at him, he can't even fast. Look at him. Look at him destroy the enemy. He's just a bloodthirsty, warrior. I mean, a lot of people would think of him like that in the world today, and they thought of him like that then. But he was most dear to Krishna, and Krishna was most dear to him. And he was serving only under the order of his brother, who was the perfection of Dharma, who was the incarnation of Dharma himself. And if his brother said no, somehow ever he would suppress his senses. Or like Padumna, Krishna's eldest son. If Krishna didn't like something and he liked it, Krishna, then the opposite way around, whatever that is, the opposite way around, if Krishna liked it and he didn't like it, then he found a way to like it too. You know? So amazing characters, you know. We can try to, we can't imitate them. I mean, we shouldn't think we can go out into the battlefield and be like Bhima, you know, and just get run over and squished. But or like Padumya and try to, be this, walk around dishonest, have so many material desires that I know somehow, I know Krishna doesn't like them, so I'm completely ignoring them. While every day they're hounding me so bad that I'm becoming insane, you know. We don't want to practice Dharma, so that's why everybody needs a guru, to help us to figure it out. Otherwise, you're like left on your own. And you got the mind here imitating Krishna, I'm Krishna, do this for me, please. And it's just our mundane mind. It's not easy to, actually get that transcendental direction from the transcendental Supreme Personality of God in Himself. So the mind can disguise itself as Krishna. You can steal that soap. We should never pay for it. So the temple is just a rich corporation. Take it.
Yeah.
Then you take it and people arrest you, you throw in jail, Why did you do that to me, Krishna? Krishna's thinking, oh man, here we go again. He's blaming me for it. All right, we better get out of here. It's getting late. Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai.
I'll give you mine.